Hey kids, you are about to listen to a comedy podcast. That means that none of this is medical advice. If you need medical advice and medical care, please contact your doctor.
Welcome to the Jock podcast featuring Dr. London Smith. Stay tuned for a very important and heartfelt, thought-provoking conversation between Dr. London, his producer Cameron, and their special guest. Now let's get it lit up in this motherfucker. Introducing your host, Dr. London Smith.
Hello, and welcome to the Jock podcast, where we discuss fitness and health and how to incorporate our modern understanding of science and medicine into our daily lives, but without it being so boring. I'm your host, Dr. LondonSmith.com. I would like to begin by apologizing to our listeners. We have received some feedback about the excessive amount of technical medical terms that I've been using, such as hysteroscopic myomectomy and ravioli, so I will try to temper my terminology to a simpler one in the future. Here to help with that is our producer Cameron.
Oh, hey, Dr. London. Oh my God.
Hey, are you doing all right? You sound kind of tired.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sort of exhausted. I've actually sort of been taking care of my girlfriend lately. She's kind of come down with some stuff and just trying to help out, you know?
Yeah, you were talking about your girlfriend a little bit, but sort of vaguely. What how long have you been dating?
Well, we've been dating on and off since, well, not 9/11. It was 9/14. It was like on the 14th.
But that's how you remember it.
In 2001. Yeah, that's kind of how I remember it, yeah.
And so
just sort of on and off since then.
Okay. And so I guess it's on right now.
It's on right now, but I mean, Dr. London, I'm exhausted. Things are really tough. She, I don't want to, I don't know if it's a HIPAA violation or what. I don't want to like spill her secrets or whatever, but this is a medical podcast and she's dealing with a medical issue. She has come down with, I don't know how to say this. My girlfriend is adorkable.
Okay.
And it's not, it's one of those things people kind of forget about. Like, I think it was maybe people were more afflicted by it a lot more from like 2004 to 2012.
Yeah.
But it still exists to this day. And I mean, Dr. London, just to tell a story, I mean, just the other day, she's so obsessed with this phone that looks like a taco. It's her taco phone. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to take it into the bath with her because she only takes bubble baths instead of showers.
Right.
And then it zapped her Warby Parkers right off of her face and onto like a wicker basket that she was using as a TV tray.
Okay, that does sound adorable.
Was trying to get out of the bathtub and she went, whoa!
But she caught herself.
Because of how adorable she is.
Yeah.
And the Shins started playing in the background, and it's a lot of work, Dr. London.
Yeah, that sounds, I guess that sounds difficult. So the way you're talking about it, like in certain, ranges of time.
All her pets have human first names. They're just like Fred and Adam and things like that.
Yeah. So like the way you're talking about it sounds like...
She replaced her mattress, Dr. London, with just old vinyl records. There's no sheets. There's no blankets. It's so damn cold.
Yeah, okay. Well, that part to me doesn't sound adorable. It just sounds impractical. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're struggling right now, Cameron.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping you'd give me maybe a little bit of help here. What I can do. You're a doctor. But.
Okay, I guess off the top of my head, maybe if she's very adorable and you want to make her less adorable, you could get her like a cool leather jacket. That'd be...
Oh, she would hate that.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if you want to...
She would despise that.
Yeah, well...
Do you want my relationship to be off again?
I don't... It's
been off for almost 20 years.
I guess... Okay, the timeline... So you started dating on 9/14, a few days after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stopped for...
Yeah, by like on 9/17, we were done.
Okay.
But now we're back on again.
Okay.
So it's been this like back and forth, on and off like kind of thing for a long time now.
Yeah, I guess in the time that you've known her, it sounds like it's been far more off than it has been on. But yeah.
You mean what what I thought I knew about her. I didn't realize I was getting into a relationship with someone who
is adorable. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is adorable.
I'm sorry to hear, and that was just one piece of advice. Maybe I'll think of something else, over the course of...
You think she only has a taco phone? You think she doesn't have a hamburger phone and maybe a phone that looks like a Philly cheesesteak? Hell yeah, she does, Dr. London.
Yeah, that's
tough. She hit me over the head with her ukulele just the other day.
Okay, so that was our producer, Cameron. Also with us is DJ Joe in the house.
My girlfriend is adorkable.
Adorkable.
I mean, just the other day, she's so obsessed with this phone that looks like a taco. It's her taco phone.
Adorkable.
And she wanted to take it into the bath with her because she takes bubble baths instead of showers.
Adorkable.
And then it zapped her Warby Parkers right off of her face and onto like a wicker basket that she was using as a TV tray.
Adorkable. Good trick. Adorkable.
She hit me over the head with her ukulele just the other day.
Adorkable.
Later, Cameron tells me we also have a special guest. Is that right, Cameron?
That's right, Dr. London.
But before we move on, I would like to address a bit of listener feedback. So I found this note written in graffiti in a seedy part of town that I was visiting for research. The note reads, quote, "My pappy taught me to fish, but I can't anymore because of arthritis, so now I go to Long John Silver's, the next best thing," end quote. So first of all, thank you so much to this listener for reaching out to us here on the Jock Talk podcast. To answer your question, I am glad that you found a way to compensate for your joint inflammation. That's...
Well, wait, Dr. Lennon, if you said you saw this in graffiti, like on a wall?
Yeah, but that's how...
Dr. London, that's probably not a question. It's probably the name of a gang.
Oh, you think my pappy taught me to fish, but I can't anymore because arthritis, so now I go to Long John Silver's, the next best thing, is the name of a gang?
If you saw it in graffiti, then yes, that's their tag, Dr. London. And now we're just like saying it all the time on the podcast. I feel like we're maybe attracting bad customers. I don't want to get in trouble here.
Or the authorities could be after us if we are labeled as being part of this gang. So I don't know okay, so I guess let's disavow, unless we don't want to be involved.
Unless they want to trade.
Well,
is that what you're about to say?
Trade names? Is that what you're saying?
No, just like maybe set up a trading sort of relationship so we can sort of trade goods and services with different members of our community.
Gang members in our community.
Mm-hmm.
No, I feel like we should probably, if this is a gang, which I didn't realize, I'm not as street smart as you are. So if this is a gang that we're dealing with, then I think from my knowledge of gangs, we want to stay away because they could be doing something illegal. Do you see how that's a concern?
I guess I see it as sort of like an ethical concern, but it's not a monetary concern. And this is a business. So I guess I don't really understand where the line is. But this is your podcast. You make your decisions. But if anyone out there is involved in anything and they need a contact and they want to hit me up, just go ahead and do so.
Okay. Well, to that listener, thank you for listening.
I'm on Gab.
Yeah, you guys can gab. Now for today's medical topic, acute mesenteric ischemia. Acute mesenteric ischemia is sort of like a heart attack for your intestinal tract, in that it results from a compromised blood supply, usually to the superior mesenteric blood vessels. Plus, it has the same initials as an acute myocardial ischemia, which is, the medical term for a heart attack. So, it's like, once again, the heart attack for your gut. So acute mesenteric ischemia can be categorized into 4 types, 3 of which are due to arterial disease and 1 due to venous disease. Arterial.
So instead of a heart attack, it's more like a butt attack, right?
It's more, symptoms can be closer to the butt. Yes, that's more true than, but usually you'll feel it in the abdomen area. So
you'd say it's a gut attack. So it's a gut and butt attack. Maybe like a 2-fold gut and butt.
It's more, I would say, you know what? I can't definitively say
it's a gut and butt double blaster. So I think maybe instead of calling it a heart attack for the intestines for the rest of this lesson, if you could just call it a gut and butt double blaster, I think that would clear things up for our audience. Okay,
so one type of a gut and butt double blaster is arterial embolism, which in this case, the emboli or blood clot comes from the heart because of something like atrial fibrillation or heart attack, and then that travels down and clogs an artery to the colon. Another type is arterial thrombosis, which is when a patient's blood vessels are so clogged up from atherosclerosis that a short-term decrease in blood supply from some heart issue is enough to prevent the blood from reaching the colon. Patients may also have...
Ooh!
Yeah, no, it is bad when it happens.
Ooh, that's gotta hurt.
And yes, it can be painful. Let's see. Patients may also have non-occlusive mesenteric ischemia. That's seen in ill elderly patients, in which blood vessel constriction in response to low cardiac output just limits the amount of blood reaching the colon. So, not enough blood going around, the blood vessels constrict, and the colon gets hit by low blood supply. And lastly, there is venous thrombosis, which has many predisposing factors such as infection, hypercoagulable states, oral contraceptives, portal hypertension, malignancy, and pancreatitis. Clinically, patients can present acutely with severe abdominal pain disproportionate to physical findings. So as you said, Cameron, it can be very painful. Pain is due to ischemia and possibly infarction of intestines. Once again, very similar to a heart attack. Or, in Cameron's words, it'd be a gut and butt double blaster. The abdominal exam may appear normal even when there is severe ischemia. So that can actually lead to a delay in diagnosis. Depending on the type of acute mesenteric ischemia, a gut and butt double blaster, the acuteness and severity of pain may vary. Patients may also have anorexia, vomiting, mild gastrointestinal bleeding, which is an example of the butt blasting that you're talking about.
The pain. Oh, the butt blasting, yeah.
And even sepsis and shock and advanced disease.
And I do, not to interrupt in here, but earlier when you said venous thrombosis, I did want to say something about maybe like men are from Mars thrombosis and women are from venous thrombosis, but I didn't think it was funny. And so that's why I didn't say it. But I feel like it should be said just in case someone at home like has the same thought and they think that they would want to interject with that if they were on the show.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say right now that would be a bad decision because I almost made that decision and then I kind of held back.
And it was very, good of you to show restraint. So the definitive diagnostic test is mesenteric angiography. Also important is to obtain a plain film of the abdomen to exclude other causes of abdominal pain. Classically, the appearance of what's called thumb printing on barium enema may be present due to thickened edematous mucosal folds. So treatment involves supportive measures with IV fluids and broad-spectrum antibiotics. Additionally, direct intraarterial infusion of papaverin, a vasodilator, is injected into the superior mesenteric system during arteriography as a therapy of choice for all arterial causes of acute mesenteric ischemia, gut and butt double blaster, which relieves the occlusion and vasospasm. Direct intraarterial infusion of thrombolytics or embolectomy may be indicated in some patients with an acute embolic gut and butt double blaster.
You're getting tired of what you're saying.
No, it's just one of those things where teaching is a lot. That's all. But that's what we're here for. That's the entire reason this podcast exists, is to teach medicine. So
yeah, but I need a little more energy.
Okay, sorry. So heparin anticoagulation is the treatment of choice for venous thrombosis, or if
hell yeah,
from Mars thrombosis. I don't So surgery, which would involve resection of non-viable bowel, may be needed in all types of gut and butt double blaster if signs of peritonitis develop. And just to clarify for anyone who's maybe a little bit more academic about it, that lesson was about another term for gut and butt double blaster would be acute mesenteric ischemia. Just for the clarification.
Those are for the nerds. And actually, if you want to get into the real nitty-gritty of these kind of details, you really need to sign up for our Patreon, because this is what we do most of the time on our Patreon is I talk about all the medical knowledge that I have. Dr. London sort of takes a back seat.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot. There are things that you say that I've never heard, and normally I wouldn't pay full tuition for it, but the price of our Patreon is a lot less than tuition. So in that regard, I see it as worthwhile.
Well, and that's the great thing with you specifically, Dr. London, is that your payments, you don't have to pay anything. It just gets deducted out of your Jock Doc paycheck.
Yeah.
And goes straight to my medical lessons.
Yeah. No, that is great. Anyway, that's our medical lesson. Let's go ahead and move on to, you said we have a guest, right?
That's right, Dr. London. And look, I'm going to be completely honest here. I've said in the past that we've had some of the craziest and some of the wildest and some of the coolest guests ever. But this is definitely somewhere on that list.
Yes.
Okay, so you're just saying that they are a guest. That's the takeaway.
100%.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's not a bad thing. Okay, well, hello there. My name is drlondonsmith.com, and this is our producer, Cameron. What was your name?
Hi.
Hi, I'm George Jar Jar Martin. Very pleasure to be here. I got to say, that was the most glowing introduction I've ever had.
Wow, yeah.
So thank you so much for that.
George Jar Jar Martin, you're the writer.
Oh, no relation to George R.R. Martin. I am George Jar Jar Martin, the rewriter. I am working on rewriting the Game of Thrones books to make them better, because so many people didn't like the way that the TV show ended.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like Game of Thrones was all anyone talked about for a while, and then the second it was over, it's like it evaporated from the cultural consciousness.
Yeah, it evaporated from a lot of people's cultural consciousnesses, and then there's some people who are still clinging to it and love to talk about it.
Yeah, I never actually got into the whole, Game of Thrones thing, but maybe I'll appreciate your take, because, for me, a lot of the turnoffs were like the characters seemed kind of, I don't know, excessively evil in my mind.
Oh, sure.
I found to be less relatable, so maybe...
Well, and I do want to say, I definitely want to hear about your books, but you called us and you said,
did.
is this a medical podcast? I have medical things.
I do. Yes.
Said,
sorry.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to get to that before we get to anything else. That's the most important thing to me. So I've been writing so much, staying here in my cabin in New Mexico, not interacting with the world, just so I could get this 6th rewritten book done. My version of the 6th book, not George R.R.'s.
Right.
And I've been living a very sedentary life, and I'm wondering, do you have any advice for somebody whose butt hurts?
From just sitting for so long and so much?
I think so, yeah.
Well, I think first of all, just getting up and walking, not being sedentary, is actually a really good trick.
That's a lot to expect of someone, Dr. London. Are you I mean, not everyone is gonna not sit down all the time.
Well, the sedentary lifestyle is actually, that's kind of notoriously bad for people, and it contributes to obesity and everything. So really a good idea is to be, getting up, walking.
Yeah, but surely you can learn how to live a non-sedentary lifestyle without having to get up. You Yeah, like put with like get a chair with wheels, right? So you can just kind of scoot around. That's burning some calories. You're moving your legs.
Yeah, you're technically burning some calories just by existing because your body takes calories to function, just to stay alive.
Oh, so you're saying exercise isn't even necessary? It's kind of just a scam. It's something your body does automatically. That is so interesting, and this is one of the reasons I'm not just the producer of this podcast, but I'm a fan, Dr. London.
Yeah. So in any case, so George Jar Jar, do you mind if I just call you Jar Jar? Is that easier?
You know what? Sure, let's do that. Yeah, go ahead and call me Jar Jar. I might forget to respond, thinking that you're referring to the Star Wars character, but I expect most of the time I'll know you mean me.
Okay, so Jar Jar, did you Okay, so you came here because you had this problem where you've been sitting on your ear for so long that it has, I guess, developed pain, possibly, I don't know, ulcers if you really don't move.
Sounds like butt hurt syndrome.
Yeah, that's what I was Googling. I was Googling butt hurt syndrome, and it kept telling me that I was emotionally unstable, and I don't think that's the problem. I don't think it's an emotional issue that makes my butt hurt.
Well, sometimes your emotions can sort of manifest themselves physically. Sometimes the stress in your body can affect your actual physical makeup. So, I mean, is there any truth to this?
Well, that's interesting because I've always found that, my writing is my stress relief. And most of my job is that. And I feel better on days when I'm doing the writing part of my job. But on the days where I have to do the reading part of my job, because obviously as a rewriter, I have to spend half of my time reading and then half of my time writing what I've read in a new way. So,
and that it's an equal share, the amount of time it takes to read versus write.
Yeah, it's 100% equal. I write 1 page a minute and I read 1 page a minute.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so it's completely 1-to-1.
I think.
Yeah, some of the time I do have to spend a little bit of time in between the writing and the reading when I have to think about what to do, and that usually I think at about 1 page a minute as well.
Oh, okay. So fully getting it done is more like 1 page every 2 minutes. A minute to think about it and a minute to rewrite it.
Yes. So yeah, I do have a 3-minute process where I read a page, think about it, and then rewrite it.
Oh, you're doing it 1 page at a time.
Often
you're not doing
I do
it by
find
even logical sectioning or anything like that.
Well, so that's the advantage of my rewriting process. I actually, based on what I've rewritten into the books the last time I visited some. So let's say, okay, let me use a good example here. Let's say we're thinking about, well, Dr. London, you said that your least favorite part of Game of Thrones was that sometimes the characters are inherently evil. Who would you say is the most evil character?
Well, honestly, I didn't make it that far through, but like all of the people,
the character you found the most evil as you were reading it,
whoever it was that chopped a head off in the first, I guess, book.
That chopped
ill in pain.
Well, that chopped a head off. Are you talking about Ned Stark?
Oh, in the first,
yes.
In the first scene,
you consider Ned Stark
to
be the most evil villain of the series. That actually is a really interesting take.
Yeah,
because he. Go ahead.
He kept trying to be in control, and he kept trying to control things, and like everyone else is just trying to live their lives. So that was frustrating to me.
Yeah, Ned Stark trying to feed his family and stuff.
I mean, look, it's been a bit since I tried to read it, but I don't remember him feeding his family that much. It was mostly politics and
I guess that's true.
Listen, I've been reading
werewolves.
I've been reading those books a page at a time, and I'll tell you, there's a mention of food on literally every page.
Okay.
And
sorry. Yeah.
Personally, I would say the most evil character in the series, also from the very first episode, is the old woman who is telling Bran ghost stories while he's injured.
Yeah. Yeah. No, scaring kids is notoriously evil. That's absolutely true.
And
So what I would do in my book process
What you have done.
is I would what I exactly what I have done many times. But say we're starting right now,
Okay.
and I'm looking
Who's saying this?
I'm looking at these scenarios. Okay, so this is a hypothetical scenario that I'm suggesting.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm saying it. I'm saying that in this scenario, we're starting with just looking at this right here. And you're saying Ned Stark chopping the head off that guy was the most evil thing that could happen. So what we'll do is we'll just replace Ned Stark with something people like
Bambi.
7-time NFL Super Bowl champion Tom Brady. So we'll
Yeah.
make Tom Brady.
Okay.
Be Ned Stark. So now in the new version of the book that I'll customize a book for you. I'll write a version of the 6th book of Game of Thrones for you.
Okay.
So your version would have Ned Stark as Tom Brady instead, not doing all those evil things, just being good.
I gotta throw it out there, but if Tom Brady's in there, you have to get Papa John as well. They're contractually in everything together.
That's a very good point.
You can't have one without the other. So I guess Papa John, maybe Tom Brady's cutting the head off of Papa John.
Well,
That sounds great to me. Yes. So Tom
about
Tom Brady is
if
now
Papa
Ned Stark,
John
and
is handling all the feeding people thing, because I had issue with that, obviously. So if we separated those two jobs.
So that's interesting because this is the first time that somebody has pitched somebody who's more unpopular than what happened in the books to me. So for me, I'm thinking Papa John, well, people don't like him. I don't want to include him. But if you want him, then your version would have Papa John as a good guy. So I guess if you think Papa John's a good guy, Dr. London, then for sure, in your version, we can have that.
Well, it's kind of, he's Papa John. He's like the patriarch of his society, not unlike the character in these books. And so it's not that I like him, it's just that he has that charisma that the book, if you take out the Ned Stark, you might be lacking in that charismatic figure that you love to hate. Does that make sense?
That's a fair point.
What if Papa John is Robert Baratheon then? King Robert.
Oh, interesting.
So London, Ned becomes sort of the right-hand man to his sort of old colleague, the king, Robert Baratheon. That king is now Papa John, who is the king of pizza.
Mm-hmm. It's a perfect 1-to-1.
Okay.
And if we're gonna expand this out logically, instead of the 7 kingdoms, I guess it would be the 7 pizza chains.
That's right. It would be the 7 franchise locations, and I think that's a great improvement. So now we have a book series that's not about a bunch of evil people fighting over a throne, when instead they should be paying attention to the end of humanity that's coming in the form of White Walkers and winter. Instead of that, we have 7 different franchise Papa John locations fighting over who gets to determine the supply chain.
Okay.
Wow.
This
is
Yeah,
incredible.
That's the book that you wanted, Dr. London.
Yeah, you're saying it to me as if this is bad news and these are the consequences of my words, but you're describing the perfect book.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm describing the perfect book for you, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the great
Now-
American novel.
So are the White Walkers going to be, I guess, they're all about the butter and garlic on the pizza now? Is that...
White Walkers, I would think maybe it would be a different industry that is trying to kill chain pizza.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly right. And so in your version of the books, I think the White Walkers would be represented by mom and pop spaghetti stores.
The evil mom and pop pizza places, the evil local Italian eateries who are trying to kill the noble chains.
The immigrants who are just trying to make their way and share their family's secret recipes to make people, happy and have a good meal. Those are the ones that are the enemy.
The folks who are just trying to serve up a spicy meatball every once in a while,
Yes.
Those folks are coming. Spicy meatballs are coming would be the new banner slogan for House Stark.
That's a spicy meatball!
Right. What was that one character who supposedly... I'm going off of, I read part of the first book. That's as much as I know. So
Sure.
I know that there's a character named Jon Snow who died but then didn't die.
Yes.
So what is that in this Papa John's?
Oh, you have an
versus-
issue with that? That's a bad thing you want to change, I guess?
You're not into, saviors of mankind who come back from the dead after 3 days.
It sounds like Jar Jar here is only... Can I call you Jar Jar Abrams?
Yeah, I'll try to remember to respond to that. I might think you're referring to either the Star Wars character or the movie director, but I will do my best to respond when you call me
So
that.
what Jar Jar Abrams is saying here is that he's changing all the bad stuff that people didn't like into more popular versions. So is that something that you thought was bad, Dr. London? Which part didn't you like about it?
Well, for one thing, once again, most of what I knew was what I'd said so far was that this character who I barely knew from the first book, he died and then he wasn't dead. So what I didn't like was hearing about it.
Okay.
You didn't like the billboards that had like a question mark of whether or not he was dead, which was pretty much spoiled that he wasn't.
Well, that plus I also didn't like all my friends who called me up to say like, did you hear Jon Snow is dead? And then they would also call me up and say, did you know that Jon Snow is not dead? Because that was like my friend group.
Yeah, you don't want to hear people talking about it and telling you about it.
And
I have a perfect solution.
And so
for this.
definitively, either way. I didn't like.
So your copy of I believe it's A Feast for Crows where this occurs would be a slightly different version. We would take out the part of the book where Jon Snow dies. We'll just take those couple of pages out and replace them with very large earmuffs, which you can put on at that point because you'll say, "Oh, I got to this point. People are going to start talking about it." So you put on those headphones, those earmuffs, and just don't take them off until you think that enough time has passed that no one is going to be talking about this happening.
Okay, actually, if you wanted to save on cost, maybe there could be a way to sort of extend the bridge of the book and then just make the book itself a pair of earmuffs.
Oh, that's a great idea. So yeah,
think about it. You got an open book, and then if you were able to pull it kind of far apart and then just place both sides of the book over your ears, you wouldn't be able to hear anything.
I am liking this version because in this version, I wouldn't have to read the book at all. I would just have some earmuffs for like when it gets cold or loud.
Which is the only reason you're reading the book in the first place is you're hoping somewhere in there it's telling you where you can get a pair of earmuffs.
Yeah, I thought it was one of those specialized item magazines like in the airplane.
Yeah.
Of course.
Take me back to those airplanes.
You thought that about the book that doesn't exist yet?
Yeah, that was my understanding.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, well, then, if your least favorite part of the Game of Thrones books was the fact that you had to read, then I think, there's a simple solution. We just replace the words with... on each page, each word will be replaced by one tiny little screen that plays a movie of your choice.
I thought you were going to say audiobook for a second, because this, what you just suggested, is so much better.
Yeah, no, because I'm getting the idea that what you don't like about Game of Thrones is all of it. So for you, the best version of it would be for you to watch something else.
Yeah, even if it was just like little GIFs of like parts of other movies, I wouldn't need a whole movie for each screen necessarily. I'm not going to tell the writer how to write. Obviously, you know what you're doing.
Hey, listen, my whole thing is taking what's on the page and changing it to make people like it better. Without your input, how could I do that?
Exactly. And I think just fill that bad boy with GIFs from adaptation with Nicolas Cage, and I think London will be very entertained by that.
Are Nicolas Cage GIFs your favorite kind of GIFs, Dr. London?
I haven't read. I'm not as well read as you might think, so. Like outside of medicine, I don't read that much, especially like fiction. So I haven't read adaptation with Nicolas Cage, but I have to assume that I would.
Right.
Well, if that's your favorite type of GIF, and it sounds like it is based on what you just said, then I think the right solution will be for me to pick a Nicolas Cage GIF that summarizes each chapter and put that in the book instead of the chapter. And then you can just flip from GIF to GIF and get the sense of what happens.
Okay.
So like the chapter that's when all the wildlings are attacking at, where the Night Watch is, Castle Black.
Yeah, at Castle Black. Yeah, when all the wildlings are attacking Castle Black, the GIF would probably be that one of Nicolas Cage where he's got a big shocked look on his face and he has his hands together on his cheeks.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't follow the first part, but that GIF sounds really good. You might turn me into a real fiction reader.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if all the words are GIFs.
If all the words are GIFs, that makes for easy reading.
Now, Cameron, you said that your least favorite part of... I'm sorry, did you say what your least favorite part of the Game of Thrones books was?
Well, I said the greatest villain was the old woman who was telling Bran scary stories.
Right, of course, because
why would you want to
scaring
scare
is
children?
a heinous crime.
Children should be scaring adults, which is why my favorite character is Joffrey.
Wow.
Well, okay. Well, if the old woman scaring Bran at the beginning is the most evil person in the world, and the thing that you like most is kids scaring adults, then I think we'll just replace her with Dennis the Menace, because Dennis the Menace can scare anyone of any age.
Wow.
That
He
is
can
really
scare
good.
adults. He can scare kids. So now we'll have Dennis the Menace trying to pull a prank on Bran while he's dead, or almost dead. You know.
You know what? I thought of something I really liked about the book, I guess, in my case. I liked that the horse was handicap accessible. I really liked that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was fantastic. I think we should make more things in the Game of Thrones universe handicap accessible.
So I'm just saying, like, you can leave that specific part of the books in my copy. You can leave the handicap accessible horse.
You're trying to say that you want Dennis the Menace's slingshot to be more handicap accessible. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Well, it was a little bit more about the horse, but now that you mention it, I don't remember seeing any. I don't remember reading about any handicapped characters being able to use a slingshot. You're right.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember if the correct terminology now is differently abled or not. But certainly that wasn't a featured part of the book. Although I will say there were some characters who had, like, there was the guy with no balls. So but yeah, so I mean, if we want to make more things handicap accessible or differently abled accessible, then what we
either or, yeah.
It's just the slingshot, really.
Just the slingshot.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And then if we could also change, I thought the dire wolves were too scary.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Can we make them just kittens instead?
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, we might as well just extend that to the dragons as well, because they're
There were
breathing fire,
dragons?
which is it's terrifying.
Oh yeah, you never got to the dragons, huh?
Well, there were
so
some eggs that would never hatch. That's what I knew about.
Oh, you just thought they would make that into an omelet or something eventually?
We could do that.
Or just a collector's egg. Like, I've had those whatever fancy eggs, that are made of whatever jewelry. I have a few of those. So I get that.
Fabergé eggs?
You own a bunch of Fabergé eggs?
You have a few?
Yeah, I didn't really name them like what you're doing, but yeah, I got a few of those. And so I get the whole idea of, yes, you want to have a few just in case.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So we'll keep the eggs in, but then we won't have them hatch. We'll have them turn Fabergé, and we'll since there won't be any hatched dragons, then you won't get scared by the dragons.
That sounds perfect. And then maybe Danny can bring the eggs to, like, Pawn Stars.
Yeah, I think
I have watched that.
Yeah, so Danny will bring the eggs to Pawn Stars. That's perfect, and that'll be in the place of the Dothraki. We'll just have Pawn Stars, and so Danny brings the eggs to Pawn Stars, and they say,
or Antiques Roadshow if you wanted more of a classy vibe. That's fine too.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you want more of a classy vibe, then you'll have it. We'll do Antiques Roadshow.
Or those could be the opposing factions. Is that something?
Okay,
Antiques
so
Roadshow versus Pawn Stars.
Yeah, so
Antiques Roadshow is the old snobby kingdom, and Pawn Stars is Winterfell, where the Starks live, where they're a little more edgy, they're a little more honest, they're a little
Which
more
one is
real.
ruled by Papa John?
Papa
John rules the
over
kingdom.
All of it, but
Oh,
he
okay.
lives in the Antiques Roadshow section.
Well, so I want to push back a little bit on this Antiques Roadshow, and generally I don't push back, but I do want to say if Danny is bringing them the eggs, then it's got to happen over in the other continent, you know?
That's true. So, who were the people who
Yeah,
when she freed all those slaves? What group of people did she do that from?
that was the Milanese. So I think it would make
Okay,
sense
so-
for them to be Antiques Roadshow because those people need to be freed.
Yeah,
and then
so she'll get there, and then with the money she makes from the eggs, she frees everyone.
that's right, exactly.
Which wait, isn't that sort of what happens in the actual show? Now I can't remember.
It's sort of what happens. She's so in the book that I was reading and obviously I'm rewriting. What happens is she trades a dragon and then she says you can't own a dragon, and the dragon burns everybody up. She buys an army of slaves and then kills the slavers with the army. It's
That's
great.
right.
That part I don't change in any of the books. No matter what people want, I don't change that part.
Yeah. So in this instance, since there's no dragon, it's just she just trades them the egg and then they leave.
Well, so she trades them the eggs for the army, and then the army kills the slavers, and she gets the eggs back, and then she hatches them and makes a nice scrambled egg. No, excuse me. No, she keeps them as Fabergé eggs. Excuse me.
I also find it kind of scary to see Dani stand in fire. You know, she can't be burned. That I worry that is going to encourage me to try the same thing.
Well, and it has.
And it has a lot.
Cameron has stood in, when he walks into a house, he'll just make a beeline for the fireplace, and just usually it's not. So far, it has not been lit when he gets there. So that's been the advantage for him.
Okay, well, let me help you out. We will change that part. So instead of Dani being able to stand in fire, she'll be able to stand Guy Fieri. So Guy Fieri will just become one of her advisors.
Yeah.
And then that'll encourage you to go to Guy Fieri's restaurants more often, which I know you've always wanted to do.
Yes.
And so then that'll
Yeah.
be one of the prophecies.
Bucket list.
Is that, instead of the Queen of Dragons will be able to withstand fire, it'll be like the Queen of the Fabergé eggs will be friends with Guy Fieri.
Exactly.
Now this version of Guy Fieri will have to be chain friendly. He can't just like local places because local places are, of course, the White Walkers.
That's right. Well, he'll do a series called Diners, Drives, and Dives where he goes to visit the White Walkers, but really it's a scouting mission. And he reports back to Dani so that Dani can help Papa John crush the mom and pop Italian restaurants.
Oh, okay. So he's like a spy. He's like a double agent.
Double O Guy Fieri.
Wow. This is amazing. I mean, how much money do I have to give you to get a copy of this book?
Oh, this is free? I'm not allowed to profit off of it because George R.R. Martin owns the rights, and I am, of course, George Jar Jar Martin.
Okay, so you just do this for fun, essentially.
Yeah, well, I should admit, I do sell ad space in the book. So there are going to be ads on every other page. You'll just be able to click through them. They're touchscreen ads. It's like an iPad in there. You just click on it. You say, okay, I saw the ad. I'll turn the page now and keep reading. Or in your case, looking at pictures.
Okay, so it's not a print ad. It's like a video.
Yeah, it's a video ad. I was able to negotiate having the volume off by default, not on by default, like on some of those sites. So your audio, you won't get audio spikes when you listen to it. So the experience of reading it is still pretty pleasurable.
Okay, I feel like that I can get behind that. So I have one other thing that I really, really need to change.
Okay.
And that's the different weather throughout the series. That sort of confuses me. I think weather should be consistent. So maybe if everyone was in sort of a Los Angeles type of always able to go to the beach location.
Yeah, no, that's a great
And if
suggestion.
they would go to the beach a lot more often. Maybe surfing or having sort of a party.
That's a great idea. So what we'll do...
Now that's a book I want to read.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, great. So what we'll do is we'll replace any time that there's a battle in the books, I'll replace that with a party at a beachfront resort in Malibu.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And each party will have a different celebrity star. So each battle will still be unique and interesting in a way. It'll just be, what celebrity is going to be at this beach party?
Yes. That was one thing I hated about the show, is that there was only a few celebrity cameos. Like when I saw Ed Sheeran just pop up out of nowhere, I was cheering. But then there was like no one else.
That's my dude Ed. Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was doing too.
But I was like, where's Charlize Theron? Where's like Jack from Lost? He's not in it at all.
That was frustrating.
People
I don't
forgot
think
about
anyone
him.
from Lost was in it. Yeah.
There were no Lost cameos, and that is something I will change. From now on, all the captains in Vargo Hote's band will be people from Lost.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I want a really prominent part for that couple from that episode where they weren't really featured ever else in the show, and then they like got bit by a spider and were buried alive. I think they should play like a huge part in this series. I think that should
I've got to be honest.
Danny and Jon Snow.
That's a great idea. That's what I was just gonna say. I mean, we already have changed Danny's behavior. Why not change her face to somebody who gets eaten by a spider and buried alive or whatever?
Yeah,
on Lost.
exactly.
And the downside to this plot change is that we have those two characters apart for most of the series. But it's the ultimate will they or won't they when you can look at it and say, well, they did on Lost, so they probably will.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Well, I think they just get buried alive on Lost and then they just die.
Oh, they never get together? I thought they got together first.
I honestly don't remember, but I believe like the episode ends with
them buried
dying.
alive is what I recall.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I think giving those people a second shot to be Jon Snow and Danny would be really, really cool.
I think that's a great
idea. It is what the people want.
And I think this part of the change to the books will be really relatable to everyone since it's so clear who we're talking about.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you can just mention that in the book a lot. You can be like, you remember that episode? I mean, it was like a mid-season, so probably like season 3 or something. All of this can just be in the book.
Yeah, no, and it will. And I might even include just an extra iPad where you can play that episode of Lost before you read that section of the book.
It sounds like most of, at least my version, will just be an iPad.
Yours will be a series of iPads bound together, leather. All of my versions of the book are leather bound, so you'll get that experience. But then you will just be turning iPads from GIF to GIF. And
remember, they do double as earmuffs as well.
Essential.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
okay. Well, I hope, I feel like I didn't get my question answered. I'm glad we got your question answered, but I do. What should I do about how my butt hurts?
So I would say, try exercising, do some cardio for like 30 minutes a day. That's a really good idea. Kind of get out there and do some exercise. And actually, that applies to not just you, but also our listeners. Try to get out there, change up your routine, get some steps in, Like Cameron, I know you've said you've made a lot of progress. You now go to the all the way to the fridge. You used to have just a rope and a stick for that.
Right, but now that I've got my rolly chair, I'm able to just sort of scoot over to the fridge anytime I want.
Okay, yeah, great. So I guess steps was an exaggeration, but that's still something. Okay. All right. So we have, Jar Jar, I hate to bring you into this, but we do have chores to do. Yeah.
Sorry, were you talking to me?
Yes. Was that not? I'm sorry. What?
Oh no! I thought you meant the Star Wars guy. What was that?
I'm not familiar, but yeah. So Jar Jar, we have these chores that have kind of built up. Cameron, do you want to explain to him? I don't like explaining the chores.
Yeah. So basically, we have a ton of stuff to do on our to-do list that we've been neglecting, and so we're trying to get it all done. And so we've built this fun chore wheel that we spin every week, and whatever chore it lands on, whatever task it lands on, we have to do it. So if it's the dishes, if it's vacuum the living room, if it's, take out the kids or whatever, you just have to do it.
That's a good policy.
And so, Dr. London, do you want to, or actually, Jar Jar Abrams, do you want to give the wheel a bit of a spin, the chore wheel?
Yeah. Sorry, I thought for a second you meant J.J. Abrams. But yeah, I got you. Yeah.
All right. Oh no. Okay. Well.
Oh boy.
No. I guess this is kind of to be expected. Some of these have been kind of oddly themed because these are a year's worth of chores we've been putting up here, but we haven't swept up all the rubble from the explosion outside. We haven't taken care of any of this stuff.
Right.
So this
sure.
particular chore is from we basically have a storage bin here, and it's for the podcast, things that we've put into storage, and we need to go through our storage unit. And maybe Jar Jar, if you want to help us out with it, that'd be helpful for us.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Should I just pick a thing?
Yeah. If you'd like to just pick something there.
Whoa! What is all of this? This is. Whoa! You've got 18 glass jars on a string. What could that possibly be for?
Okay. Yeah. So there was a time whenever we were trying to do an experiment where we would capture small people. And I said, Cameron told me that you can capture small people. I don't mean.
Sure. No, yeah. I mean these jars are like 14 inches, so those have to be like.
No, they were
small people.
Yeah, we're talking like the borrowers.
Like, I don't like elf. These things that I thought were maybe mythological, but the fact is that I haven't read all the books, on these subjects. So this is sort of outside of science and medicine as far as I'm aware. I don't know what creatures are out there. So we went hunting one time, and looking back, now I see that it could have been inhumane to capture and to cage such creatures. But we did go out and try to capture some. But we, as you can see, we did capture some creatures. I don't think that they were small. I guess people wasn't the right word. They were otherly creatures. But these ones, of course, are just like that's a raccoon that's just kind of half stuffed in.
Yeah.
It's a small raccoon.
One of the jars is just ants.
Yeah. Well, and the raccoon, obviously, it's kind of stuffed in, but it's also not letting go because it does have its grip on something in there. And
Oh, yeah. I couldn't tell it. Yeah, I can see now it's still breathing.
Yeah. And
Let go, little guy.
That's good.
That is good, yeah.
I'm glad that we cleaned this
full
out.
Of bones.
Yeah.
That one is full of bones. So that's not from anything that died. Those were bones that we were trying to reanimate.
Ah, gotcha.
So
that makes sense.
It's nothing to worry about with that.
And we just didn't have. Normally, we try to keep keep everything within a category in these jars, but obviously, we just ran out of room in our reanimation chamber. So this is.
The jars are really just general storage at this point. Maybe that wasn't the intention, but that's kind of what they are. That one has Legos in it, or Lego, which is supposed to be the plural.
Is it really?
Apparently.
An Eggo waffle is in the next one.
Yeah.
And that was me trying to keep things together, but it is rotting at this point. So I'm glad we're cleaning this out.
And is that cheese manchego?
I'm
is that
not
cheese
much of a chef.
Manchego?
Manchego cheese? Is that Manchego cheese in there? Next to the Lego and the Eggo, is that Manchego?
Oh, yeah, it is.
I'm sorry, I was confused for a second. I've tried making cheese before, and this was an attempt at making cheese. So I'm glad it's recognizable as cheese, because what I thought at the end was that it was not cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like something went wrong in the process of making cheese for sure. But I did think that could be Manchego cheese.
Well, you see that I got mad at it, and there's a hammer in there where I was smashing it and then gave up on smashing it.
And that's just one of those things. We all know that Manchego is a cheese made in the La Manchana region of Spain from the milk of sheep.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I knew that. And so that's why it's in the jar.
Yeah, which and that does bring us to the next jar, which is a sheep. Like the arm, I guess, or a leg, I guess, of a sheep. You
got a whole sheep's leg into a 14-inch jar. It is mostly hanging out, but wow.
Yeah. Once again, I'm glad that we are cleaning this out, because these creatures.
I mean, that leg was just for luck.
Yes.
Like, if a rabbit's foot gives you a little bit of luck, how much is a sheep's leg gonna get you?
Absolutely,
probably quite a bit.
Because
notoriously, sheep's blood saved the Jews during the escape from Egypt. Obviously, famously in the Old Testament.
Right.
So, I mean, if a sheep's blood can do that, what can a sheep's leg do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably let me win the lottery, which is why I've been bringing it down to the gas station quite a bit. But
I bet the angel of death has never come to your apartment.
That
isn't entirely accurate, but I don't really want to go down that avenue. I understand why you kind of zoned in on those jars, because your name is Jar Jar, and you see those 2 empty jars there, and you're wondering if you can keep them. And yes, you can keep those 2 jars.
Although,
Thank you so much.
I know you say, just to address this. So Cameron has been taking that sheep's foot attached to a full sheep on this string of jars.
Yeah.
That also includes the waffle and the Lego and the
ants,
the raccoon trying to escape. But yeah,
what are you trying to get at, Dr. London? I don't know what you're saying.
You started telling us where you were taking those. I think you said to the bank,
or was it to buy a lottery ticket?
To buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah. I take the sheep's leg to the lottery.
Yeah, I guess what I was getting at was
it's
it's such a process. So when Cameron says he's going to go to get a lottery ticket, you know that it's going to be a few hours worth of an endeavor, because he has to. It's this whole string of these. He has to sort of build a frame around himself, because he has to deconstruct it every time as well. It's just a lot. Anyway, should I go? I'll go ahead and get the next thing from storage.
Yeah. Go ahead and go.
Yeah.
Well, just really quick. That last jar. That's just you poured a can of Faygo into that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
Well,
that's so. I could tell by the smell.
We don't have to talk about him. Maybe we can talk about him in another episode. But we did have our official podcast Juggalo, who used to be part of our staff, but he left for various reasons.
Creative differences.
Differences.
I can imagine. Yeah.
But we'll get into that at a different time.
Okay. Yeah.
We love the Juggalos. We know a huge chunk of our fan base are Juggalos, and there's no offense. Danny the Juggalo left on his own accord, and we don't have to talk about it.
I've actually rewritten a ton of different Game of Thrones novels for various Juggalos, and all of them
perfect
wanted very nice versions of the book.
Wow,
that's awesome. Were they like throwing cans at Tila Tequila?
Yeah, most of it had to do with every single one of them replaced the scene of Cersei walking through the city naked with Tila Tequila walking through the scene getting beer cans thrown at her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Faygo cans, excuse me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Every single one.
Now, Dr. London, are you going to jump in there?
Yeah, sorry. So I was quiet for a second because I'm kind of staring into this. It is a skull for a soliloquy, and I've been meaning to do a soliloquy, but I've also been putting it off because it's... I like to converse so much, but sometimes you do have to just pick up your skull and talk to the camera or the audience, and you start to go on and on about something, and it's...
I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's a human skull,
okay.
Which there is also a story of how we obtained that, because we've had... Once again, we have had disgruntled staff before. Everything's fine now. Everything's fine.
That explains the writing on the back where it just says, "This could be you."
Yeah, and we don't leave it out in the entrance area anymore. We don't put it in front of the new interns. Mm-hmm. We don't do any of that. We had management before that maybe wasn't we got HR involved. Anyway, all I
I
got
think
to
what's
say
important is that our employees are happy and they are healthy and they get an adequate amount of sunlight each day.
yes. Oh, yes.
Absolutely. That's vital. That's all of my interns that come to the cabin to help me write. Absolutely. I make sure that they get outside as well. I say, get out, I'm working.
Okay. Yeah, it's great. And that, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, I guess I will just kind of keep this out now because I have noticed some slacking. So I'm going to keep the skull around actually. Okay, Cameron, do you want to go see if you can dig anything else out of there?
Yeah, actually, this has kind of been in here for a long time, and you've kind of refused to deal with it. But Dr. London, it's your keepsakes. It's your childhood keepsakes. Do you want to maybe dig through this and finally throw some of this stuff out? I mean, like right here, you've got. I mean, it's a beautiful trophy.
Yeah,
but
well,
I mean, Dr. London, what do you want to read? What the trophy's for?
Yeah, so it's for the most sissy haircut.
Yeah.
So I used to have a particular hairstyle, and I don't think that it's appropriate to use that, like that kind of terminology sounds kind of mean and whatever. But basically,
Oh, it wasn't just a sissy spot check haircut?
yeah. So look, we all go through these phases. We try out different looks. You know, I used to have spiked hair. But yes, I did end up adopting this certain hairstyle, and I didn't know it, but I had been entered into a contest without my knowledge, and I won. And with that, I did win a $50,000 prize along with that trophy for that haircut.
Yeah.
So which turned out to be the cost to change the haircut because people wanted it to stay the way it was, which is also, it was a very odd situation. But the barber it was more of a bribe, I guess, but the barber was willing to, because it was a national treasure is what the haircut was considered by the end.
Your alfalfa from the Little Rascals hair.
Which you kept referring to as your sissy spot check haircut. You know, of course, the actress from Carrie, but nobody understood what you meant by that.
Yeah. So, and it's once again but basically what I'm happy to have is that out of my life, and I can see why I put it in the storage. And, you know, it was a weird thing to be given $50,000 and then to find out that to have it, you would have to also have the haircut forever. So,
which was, of course, a combination of the sissy spacek sort of her Carrie hair, which was sort of just like flat against her head, and then the alfalfa hair, which was also flat against his head, but had like just one huge hair sticking up.
Yeah, so it kind of looked like just like normal girl hair, but then also alfalfa hair on top.
Yep.
And so,
because there's a picture of it that we can look at.
Oh, there it is.
And you look scared.
Yes. And it does have a framed picture of the two haircuts side by side to compare.
Well, and it's also a picture of the man handing you the trophy, and you look terrified, like he just startled you.
Yeah.
This might be one of the reasons you won this contest, Dr. London.
Yeah.
I mean, can we go through this? Like, you've got your report cards, but they're all C's.
Yeah. Well, because the teachers kept saying, like, I see it, and I high-fived them and walked off. Yeah.
Okay, this is a pen, and it just has SpongeBob on it. But
okay, yeah,
you
actually
drew SpongeBob on it, so it's not even a SpongeBob pen. It just
looks
looks
pretty
Can
good.
I have that? Can I have that? That's actually private. That's really private.
This is just this is a Papermate pen that you
private.
scribbled a very small
It's a good
SpongeBob
SpongeBob.
on.
Can you please?
And this
give
is
that
in
to
your
me?
keepsake.
That's private. That's very private.
Okay.
Can you
you can
just hand that
you
over?
You can take that.
Yeah, that's mine.
And then you have a caprese salad. And that salad, it looks terrible. It has not aged well at all.
They usually don't.
Yeah, I would say salads last like a couple hours. How long has this been in here?
Okay. No, okay, so I wasn't an undergrad yet. No, this was high school. This was another trophy. Yeah, and you can guess, like, obviously it was because I was the best dieter, and it's not that I chose a good diet, but it was that I was able to stick with the diet. So for me, I said like all American diet. That's what I was going for. And so you had to stick with it for a full year, and no one else could pull it off.
Who runs these awards?
This one was different from the other one. It was I believe it was a Czechoslovakian campaign or something. It was,
right.
The other one was the haircut was weird. This one there was a dietitian in, let's see, where was that? It was another foreign country. I don't know how these people will find me, but we...
I know they have a lot of dietitians in Slovenia.
Well, it was a sponsored thing because it was the whole class was doing it. But, like, other people in the class were doing, like, like a vegan diet, whatever, keto. And so everyone else picked their diet, and I picked the all-American diet. And it, like, I was just the only one who could keep up with it, essentially.
Well, and the all-American diet, I just looked it up. That's, you just had bacon in every meal?
Yeah. Well, exclusively, yes. Bacon in every meal. So, and I had to recover from some of the metabolic deficiencies that resulted from it, the different vitamin deficiencies. I ended up in the hospital a few times.
Okay. Dr. London, I don't care. It stinks like hell. It stinks terribly. I'm going to throw this away, okay?
No.
Hey, Dr. London, I don't mean to be rude, but it sounds like a dietitian gave you a salad after watching you eat like that for a year.
Yeah.
The dietitian didn't give you an award. He said, you should be eating a salad.
Looking back,
there's no way that could be it.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I don't know what I was thinking.
No, and I want to. I just don't want to take away the credit from that dietitian from whichever. Maybe they just had an accent. Anyway, that I feel like that we're about done with the chores, right?
Yeah, I think so. We can let's go ahead and seal up the old shed, the old storage.
Put that in the quick seal bag and get the vacuum, okay? And to be destroyed. Okay. All right. Well, that was great. I feel like we all learned a lot today.
I might exercise.
Yes, and which would be so much more than many of our guests take away from this podcast. So I'm so glad to hear that. Let's see. Well, Jar Jar, is there any way for listeners to keep up with you after this?
Absolutely. I personally don't use any kind of social media or anything, but I do have a publicist. My publicist is at Ezra Parter on Instagram, at Ezra Parter on Twitter. And he also publicizes a show called Apocalypse Tips with Lester Pips that's every Thursday at 8 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Pack Theater, or in a podcast form the next day. Follow at Lester Pips wherever for info on that. It's a fun show. There's these two guys who were on pretty recently that like kind of reminded me of you guys.
It sounds like he's your publicist, but you're also his publicist.
Yeah.
Do you guys exchange sort of promotional duties?
So the way it works is I am legally contractually obligated to promote his work on appearances he books for me. So he booked me with you by telling me to call you. By telling me to call you, and that
he wants the name drop. Okay,
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, yeah, it sounds great.
He also told me not to sound old by the end of the episode. He said, start out sounding old and then completely forget and drop it. He told me to do that.
Yeah. No, and that's
That's radio.
how to get in. Yeah.
That's podcasting.
And so let's see. That's a podcast. And I feel like we had another guest who had the same publicist, and there's something about a Twitch stream as well.
That's right. Yeah. Twitch.tv/Pack Theater.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Well, so thank you so much to George Jar Jar Martin for being on and, for helping us rewrite these books to kind of fit particular taste.
Thank you for having me. I'll send you your leather-bound iPads very soon.
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you to our producer, Cameron, of course. Thank you to Digital in the House.
Hi, I'm George Jar Jar Martin. Pleasure to be here. I gotta say, that was the most glowing introduction I've ever had. I've been living a very sedentary life, and I'm wondering, do you have any advice for somebody whose butt hurts?
Whose butt hurts? Whose butt
I
hurts?
was Googling butt hurt syndrome, and it kept telling me that I was emotionally unstable, and I don't think that's the problem. I don't think it's an emotional issue that
Makes my butt hurt. That makes my butt hurt. That makes my butt hurt.
My name is Dr. LondonSmith.com, and this has been the Jock Doc Podcast.
See ya.
Here's a little taste of the Jock Doc Podcast Patreon. Have a listen.
This is about how medicine in general is kind of a sham. And I'm tired of talking about it. And I never want to hear about a Band-Aid again. I never want to hear about a stitch again.
And every time you hear that someone's in stitches from laughing so hard, you have a problem with that.
Yeah, I just don't want to hear the word. Like, how people are,
It's one of those-
people are like, ew, I hate when people say moist.
So Lilo and Stitch,
Ugh.
that was tough for you.
Yeah, that was really
Yeah.
tough for me. Thankfully, they don't say Stitch as much in the movie as you think, and all the like direct to video sequels that I watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was watching all of those.
And when you say all of the direct-to-video sequels you watch, you've had some black market ones that
I paid to produce, yeah.
Yeah. Which, when you say they don't say Stitch's name that much, that is because they changed the name, right? For legal reasons?
In my version is what you're talking about? The stuff that I've produced?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we call him Philip. Yeah.
One thing that's been odd about it is it's half and half with live action versus animation in your productions of this.
Yeah, like a Roger Rabbit, or like the Brad Pitt one, like Cool Town,
Yeah, but
Cool World.
I mean, some of them will be, one on top of the other. But I mean, like sometimes it's a live action, and then between scenes it'll switch to Philip is no longer an animated character. He's a real live action person. And like...
Yeah, he's played by Chevy Chase.
Yeah, which... Was that expensive to do? Because I know you didn't get the real Chevy Chase, but you got the CGI, but...
Oh, to get the CGI rights? Yeah, that was extremely expensive.
Well, and to get the CGI production going, because that's... Because once again, that wasn't the animated version is one thing, but then to get the CGI conjured version of him. And I guess I also thought it was odd that you went for current Chevy Chase. You didn't go for like... I don't
him
want
at
to be harsh, but
33, which is what the age he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's him, gray hair, balding, and... considerably more racist.
Yeah. Well, the ending of the movie is that the CG Chevy Chase gets a record deal. But that's just because every movie these days, you have to have like a TikTok song to attach to it for people to dance to.
Yes.
The CG Chevy Chase gets a record deal. And his album goes platinum.
It is out platinum.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You didn't give us a script to begin with, so nobody knew what the f*** was going on the week during the week. Second of all, you're goddamn bad writing shit, sicko. It was an abomination. And your writing is getting worse and worse, so I don't get talked to like that by anybody, certainly not in front of my wife and daughter.
Nope.
You